Hello, RuralVacantLand.com. It's Luke Smith. I'm here with Jon Jasniak, and I'm proud to interview this guy. I saw some videos of his in the past where he's splitting properties in Texas, and the way he split the property, the way he financed it, caught my interest. I was watching what he was talking about, how he was splitting them, and I was about falling out of my seat, and how he'd financed them, and then he filled in the details later. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And so I wanted to talk some more about how he's doing his deals and how he's pulling them off. And I thought this would be a great way to just interview him and ask some questions. So Jon, thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for asking some questions. And I'm going to put his contact information in the description below if you want to look him up and learn more about Jon. He's got a website called JasLand.com. It's JasLand, right?
Yeah, that's the land company. Then just JonJasniak.com is all the education and information about me and everything. But yeah, man, thanks so much for having me, dude. You're one of the land OGs. I remember back in the day when I first started with the Land Academy, that you were right there before all of us. So we're still here.
I think you were saying 2016. You started in 2016 with Land Academy.
Yeah, late 2016. Yep, bought the course, and you know, it's been an adventure ever since, I guess.
Oh, that's great. They've got good information. I think mine was late 2015. I bought it, and it was pretty bare bones. They've added on from there, and just making it better as they go, right? And then it's, what do? You get the basics, you get the fundamentals, and then it's gotten more competitive over time, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
How do you customize from there? Get your own niche, get your own runway. So I wanted to ask you about land splitting. It seems like you've gone down land splitting path and understanding, and I've got a passion for land splitting too. And so I've got questions, and I wrote down a couple questions, and so how did you get into land splitting? Maybe you could start with where you're coming from, Land Academy, or what you're just talking about. How did you get there? What was your path?
So it was 2016 when I bought the first course, and like most other folks, I think started with just basic flipping, right? So bought a piece of land, middle of nowhere, West Texas, turned around, flipped it for double the money. And, you know, I did probably a few dozen of those, getting my feet wet. And my first year would have been 2017, kind of my first full year. Then late 2017, I'd sent out some direct mail to Hudspeth County, Texas, the home of desert land. And some dude calls me back. It's like, well, I know a guy who's got 534 acres out there, and he's looking to sell. And so I get on the phone with this guy, and he'd been going through a bankruptcy and just wanted to cash out of this giant chunk of land. He wanted $40,000 for it, which is insanely cheap. It's like $75 an acre, like something stupid. Now, back then though, like I was crapping bricks, right? I'm like, this is my biggest deal. I've been doing all these flips. I'm about to buy 530 acres of land for 40 G's. I was an engineer at the time, doing this on the side, trying to get out of the corporate grind. And I almost didn't go through with that deal, funny enough. And I ended up borrowing some money from my dad to pull it off. And we made like 52 or 53 separate 10-ish acre lots out there. And that was my first subdivide, and it sold in like 3 or 4 months. And I was like, you know, screw doing all these smaller flips. I made a couple $100,000 on that subdivision in the desert. And I was like, maybe I can do more of these. And, you know, since then it's obviously been a crazy path of doing these plats, building roads, actual kind of more formal subdivisions. And, that was the first one. It was just like an epiphany, like, okay, we could split land and make a hell of a lot more money than just doing these little flips.
So was that first one on a road, or did it have road frontage, or you just draw some easements, or, you know, a lot of stuff doesn't have much of any, it's all flat. You just drive across it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So funny enough, out there in Hudspeth County, there was a kind of like a ranch road that ran along two sides of it, which was perfect. The title company actually wouldn't ensure legal access. So a lot of the stuff out in the desert is almost like easement access, or kind of just, it's just a general rule of thumb. If there's like a ranch road going through your property, all that stuff's been subdivided out. It's like, you know, you're probably good to have access. And so I bought it with these dirt roads, and drew up a whole giant plat of 52 or 53 lots and carved private roads kind of in the plat as easement access. Basically, I never built the roads, but you know, every lot had easement access, and to, you know, that hard packed desert land, you just drive over the surface basically.
Did you draw up like legals for them, or do you have someone else draw up legals, or you just do the west 50 foot or the east 30 foot or something for easements? Or
yeah, so I found a guy online who was kind of like the GIS mapping expert of Hudspeth County, whatever website back in the day, like the Fiverr or the Upwork back in the day. I can't remember what site I used. And this dude Tom drew up a plat, and he actually kind of put the roads, you know, within the plat itself. And so we didn't do the whole 30 foot or 50 foot in the deeds and the legal description. It was actually kind of an unrecorded plat map that was attached to this whole thing.
Okay, so unrecorded plat map. That's a new one. So you just...
so on that note, there's a lot of states, including Texas, where you can do that nowadays. It's on this plat exempt stuff, you don't actually have to record plats. We just slap them on the back of the deed and record it as part of the deed itself with a legal description of the property. You know, lot 1 out of section 1, block whatever. Record the plat, record a meets and bounds description of lot 1, and attach those two things on the back of the deed. Okay, so it's created on delivery when you sell it, and then you're creating it and getting it recorded. So before that, you have somebody wants to buy 100 acres out of your 500. You could just, you already had the plat drawn up, so you'd probably say lot 4, 5, 6 or something instead of this 100 acres, and then just record that. Yeah, that's right. Okay, exactly right. But I was doing it in that kind of time frame, not in Hudspeth County, but Arizona, and it's like, you know, just do the western half or the southern 600 and whatever feet of the northern 1,020 feet of the quarter or something like that, kinds of legal descriptions. I bought a book on how to write and read legal descriptions, just follow the directions. It's like a manual, right? I talked to the title companies, and they all use the same book, and I talked to the surveyors, and they all use the same book. It's like, I got to get myself that book. And I just started following the you know, the formulas that they have, and then I kind of automated it in an Excel sheet to do lots of them, and just kind of wrote it out the formula. So it just does the formula to create the lots as I put the properties in, and then create the, just like, what do you call it? Concoctinating the legal description together. Concatenate. Concatenate. Cut and paste. So it's like, love it, man. The same thing. It's interesting because you can still quarter and half call a lot of stuff, especially these desert squares nowadays, where you're just basically splitting or subdividing based on legal description, describing things as, you know, the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, etc. But on a lot of these more serious, bigger subdivisions that myself and some other folks are doing, you know, you imagine you buy an irregular piece of land, it could be 135 acres. It's like you really have to get that stuff surveyed, and then you're diving into, you know, go 1,000 foot east, then 1,050 foot south, then XYZ, you know, direction back to the point of beginning. Well, that's a better way of doing it. I thought I could just do it myself, and I screwed up some of them. It's like looking at the maps, and like, it should be this width and depth, and I wouldn't create a square, but I would create so many feet of it this way, and then I'd leave the others open so I could leave room for air, so it still created the properties without like gaps in between. But some of them, the rectangles I saw in the maps were not anywhere close to what I thought they were, and as I cut them up, I ended up with little tiny strips of land that didn't meet the depth and width kinds of, you know, 1 or 2 of the dimensions that were required, and then it creates like some unsellable land. And when I figured that out over time, I ended up just giving those properties to the people that I sold the properties next to them. It's like, hey, here, you want some more land? You got to pay tax on this too. And they never turned it down. Like, okay, here's the piece I can't really sell ethically. You know, it doesn't. What do you? How many of those do you think like a lot of the old subdivides, how many clouded title, like incorrect legal descriptions do you think there are out there? Probably a whole boatload of just like
Of the
things
ones that
missed.
I
No,
fixed
not
all the
just
ones I
you.
created. That was
Not
a lot of
just
work,
you.
but I did.
All the people have been doing it for decades, you know, just kind of
Yeah.
winging it like we used to do, so to speak. You know, I mean, I feel like this industry's come a long ways, but I feel like some of the things in the beginning were not necessarily done 100% correctly.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I think it's less and less as the technology moves forward. I bought a portfolio of land off a guy who was out of, he was in Los Angeles, but he had properties in Kern County, Riverside County,
Okay.
Los Angeles County, maybe one other county, Imperial County or something, like a bunch of Southern California stuff, not San Diego County, but like all the others. And he was a surveyor, and the portfolio was from his kids. He died and left all this land to the kids. And what this guy did is he looked at surveys and he looked at legal descriptions like we're talking about, and he found inconsistencies. So he would find where one legal description would go this way and then the next would stop over there. And so there'd be like 50 foot in between that's like nobody is accounted for. You know, and sometimes it'd be a couple acres and these different irregular shaped things. Lots of them were triangles and just the weirdest shape, ridiculous things. Some of them were 5 foot strips of stupidity that were just in between properties. They didn't go anywhere to anything. And what he did, this was just like his hobby. Like some people collect train sets or something. This guy collected these stupid pieces of property. And so he figured them out in the maps and he created legal descriptions for them and he got them recorded. And I don't understand the full process of like who they come from to him, but maybe it was something like getting them recorded and then doing a quiet title. But I don't know. I think this was 2016 before I knew better. And where the properties came from, they were all on the county recorders in his name. And we did death certificates and stuff, transferred them to the kids, and they were all, you know, they got them to the kid's name. The kids signed them over to me. I think it was in his trust, actually. That's why we needed a death certificate. And so I got a whole portfolio of these crazy properties across multiple different counties. And it was like eBay, you know, put them on eBay for $1 kinds of properties and see what happens. So I got them for next to nothing. They just needed somebody that would actually take the trade. And they just wanted them off the books. And the price was not an issue. It was like whatever price I gave them. It was just about somebody crazy enough to do all the paperwork to get them off their books and not worry about them anymore. And
on that note, I'm always blown away. I catch surveyors making mistakes all the time. Like this surveyor in this case was buying other people's mistakes, but you know, just about every project we're doing, it's like there's a typo, an E instead of a W for east instead of west. And it's like, to your point, like if you record that stuff, you are describing the wrong piece of property. And so then now you go to sell it off and you've sold property that you don't even own. And it can create this whole rabbit hole of just a huge giant web and mess you have to untangle.
Yeah. And I've had recorders call me out and say the legal description's wrong. And I go look at it and compare and contrast, and it take me forever to figure out what the heck they're talking about. And just like you said, it's like one E or W, east or west or north or south or something is wrong. Or it says a half instead of a quarter, or, you know, it's this south versus that, the transposed or something. And
those are the good recorders then, because most of them would never even care or even bother to catch it.
And it's like, did I make the mistake? And I look back at where it came from, and it's on the previous deed. And I look back, and it's like on the previous deed before that. And it's like, holy cow! I hope all these people are still alive. You got to go get it like corrected, and just go see if you could track them all down. And get the nice thing about today is we've got like electronic recording or electronic notary. You can click, and I've been able to fix a lot of paperwork the last year that was harder to do prior, especially like Hawaii and some of these states are really slow processing stuff. But it makes it so much easier to get electronic notary, electronic recording, and get instantaneous results. They're pretty fast at fixing a lot of that stuff. But you know, you go back 2 or 3 levels before where I was trying to buy it, and the legal description is off by one letter. I mean, title companies don't even usually see that or tell, or
Yeah.
the recorder didn't. They noticed this time, but they didn't notice the previous couple times. And then I got to deal with it, fix it, but it's better that I get it fixed now than whoever I'm selling the property to has to figure that out 10, 20, 30 years from now, when they go to sell it, right? So yeah,
Man.
I think technology is pointing that out more. It's digesting these PDF documents that are a little skewed or a little off, or different fonts and sizes, and it's starting to get more.
What a lot of people don't understand or realize about this business is there's a lot of paperwork involved, actually a lot of just management, and it's like it was billed to us all, I think, back in the day as a passive income, completely hands off. But just the paperwork alone is, man, that's like one of my biggest, that and accounting are like my two biggest pain points of this business. Like, it's just
accounting.
You can't get around it.
Yeah, I've had a couple partners that I've worked with, like, that are accountants, that have sent money in to do deals, fund different deals I've been involved in. And they get frustrated with the accounting. Like, accountants get frustrated with the accounting of these things, especially when we sell the properties on terms, and understanding how to account for them sold on terms and collecting terms over multiple years. And are we accounting for the full value of the sale and paying taxes on that? Or are we counting for parts of it per year? And then what happens when the people bail out and stop paying, and we sell it to somebody else, and like readjusting the accounting for the next one, and what to do, when they bailed out and stop paying, like, are you paying taxes before, after? It's, all the paperwork of that. Like, that's a big piece of why I just basically stopped doing a lot of terms deals. Like, the accounting's so ridiculous on them.
Now throw in subdividing and potentially selling those notes and creative finance. It's a fun time.
Put a couple layers on it. Exactly.
Yep.
So I was going to ask you about pros and cons. I think we were just covering like pros and cons, doing some of these, maybe some of the cons, but the pros could be really nice. You're talking about some of the numbers that came in on that deal that you did in Hudspeth County. I mean, Hudspeth County, I got deals in Hudspeth County. You can't even find them on a map. Like 2016, people try to sell the properties. I got to go get creative mapping just to figure out where the things are. That county hasn't been in the maps. I don't know. They're probably in the maps by now, but a lot of the land trade in the past was just finding it on a map and being able to present where it is. The sellers didn't even know where it was, and finding it, showing it. The technology's come forward a lot since then. I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to operate these, but it makes it, I think it helps the competition as well as me.
A lot of Hudspeth County is still unmapped, man. I was trying to find one the other day out there. It's like, it has a property ID or an owner name, and you put that into the GIS map. It says property not found. It's not uploaded into the GIS database, which is good, because if you're trying to get a leg up, you got to learn how to map things, read legal descriptions, find plats, meets and bounds, like the whole 9 yards. So that's a good thing. One thing I really love about subdividing, though, is it's so scalable. Like the Hudspeth County one, the first one was a small one. That was like, buy for 40K, all said and done, like 200,000 or 300,000. You could do them buy for 500,000, split it up. It's worth $1 million or, 1.5 million. You could go all the way up to buy them for 5, 10, 15 million, pave some roads and bring in utilities, etc. And it's worth tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, no, I love that. And later on, it's putting apartment complexes on them instead of cutting them into properties, or putting skyscrapers on them. And how many, taking it from one use to how many uses can we do? There's always unlocking value in real estate. I mean, some people rent an apartment and then they rent out the rooms in the apartment. It's a different kind of subdividing, right? It goes on and on and on. So many different ways of subdividing stuff. Renting an office and then subletting pieces of it, sublet enough pieces of it to pay the rent and then keep your space for free or even positive cash flow. It's like subdividing, but just the basic land trade is what we're talking about. It's cool. So how do you find the properties that you want to subdivide? Are people bringing you deals? Are you still sending mailers? Are you finding them on the markets? You're reaching out, targeting them? How direct targeted are you? Or are they coming to you?
Most of my stuff, people are blown away by this, is found just on the MLS. I have just this like obsession. I'm literally on my phone on land.com and realtor.com and Zillow every single day for probably 15, 20 minutes a day, you know, just what's
Yeah.
out there, what's catching my eye. And 90% of my stuff is found on the MLS, and probably the additional 10% is largely direct mail. We do, you know, still do some direct mail, but it's very minimal, a couple thousand a year, highly targeted. Because when you know, pull data for a county that you're trying to buy 100 plus acres in to subdivide, there's really not that many records in a particular county, certainly under 1,000 owners in most counties who fit that acreage size. So we do some direct mail, very minimal. Most of it's found on market. And then, you know, I'm blessed with the social media presence on Instagram largely, then YouTube, and, you know, over 100,000 across all platforms. People do bring me deals, but whenever people bring you deals, man, I'm sure you can relate. Like, they're bringing you deals for a reason. It's like, they're not the greatest deals. If they were the greatest deals, they probably would have done them, or, you know, it would be gone by now. But, you know, every now and then there's a diamond in the rough that someone brings you a deal and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that one actually has some potential.
Yeah. And I get you there. It's usually the first deal or two someone will bring to you is a learning curve, and you probably lose their attention span because you're like telling them why it's not going to work. But some of the guys they learn from that, and then they go find exactly what you want and bring it. I mean, that's been my experience. It's been a couple steps deep after the first time they bring you a deal. And do you want to teach them how to go look for exactly the same thing you're looking for or not? That's another story. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you do have a point there. One thing that I find interesting is when people bring me deals, it's usually a no. I won't joint venture with people because, you know, I'm trying to raise my own capital and I want to do my own deals and have 100% of my own deal. Why would I fund or do a deal with someone else when, you know, I'm doing my own deals? But I'm always blown away by when people bring me deals and I tell them no or give them some feedback. There's never really any follow-up. Like, if I was a beginner and I was bringing Luke Smith a deal and Luke Smith was like, no, man, sorry, this just, you know, doesn't fit my criteria. It doesn't really look like, you know, a project I'm interested in. I would be following up. Okay, why not? You know, hey, you know, what's wrong? Is it because of the zoning, or is it because it's in a flood zone or lack of access? Like, what are you seeing that, you know, this is not a deal for you? People, I don't know if they take it personal or not, but I mean, advice for beginners out there, like trying to bring people deals, like follow up, like you got to get involved. Like, this is, you know, this is a game of knowledge and learning.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. I mean, 99 out of 100 of them there's no follow-up. And I don't know if they're just playing the numbers game and asking 100 different people.
Yeah, you're one of the people on the list, me too, and there's 100 other people on the wholesale list.
Yeah, exactly. I get wholesale stuff all the time. They're usually looking at who's buying cash in the area or something like that, and then my name will show up in whatever area, and they start bombarding me.
You know what I find really interesting, back to the topic of where I find deals. We were talking a little bit about Sumner Healy's conference here. I was there a month ago or so, 2 months ago. And when I go to these conferences and speak, I sometimes do polls when I'm up on the stage. And so I ask people, you know, like, who's on land.com, Zillow, or, you know, realtor.com every single day, tapping into the markets, looking for deals. There was probably 150 people at that conference. There was maybe like 5 that raised their hand. And I was blown away. It's like, you got a bunch of full-time land professionals and these people are not tapped in every single day. That'd be like being a stock trader and you don't have the markets pulled up every single day in the charts and, you know, like analyzing what's going on, the news. Like, okay, how do you expect to make money or have success?
It's a huge point. I mean, I set my alarm for, it was 5:30 this morning, and my local time, and our call here was 8 o'clock. I wanted to get a couple hours of calls in before we were on. And when business hours are still happening in the US, for some of the deals that I found on market, I love finding deals on market, just like you're talking about. And not historically. Historically, I was always about sending mail, send mail, send mail, send mail. Like, I love sending mail. I got into it so much. I got my own machines, my own printing press, my own print shop, and just send truckloads of mail, friggin' truckloads, trying to get the cost and the speed the cost down and the speed up as much as possible. So I get the instant response. I can learn and adjust and do more mailers accordingly. And I got lots of deals out of that, but it slowed down. I was going after, I think it's a couple of factors, going after bigger dollar spreads, bigger dollar properties, higher quality properties. You get less per mailer and more competition in the marketplace as that's been picking up. And the market's changed. We got ask prices that I think are way out there in a lot of the stuff in the marketplace, and people look at that and they think that's what they can get. And so they think they should be selling their land way up there. And I'm sending them a letter for way down their prices. And they got 5 of those already. I'm not like something new anymore. When you're talking 2016, I was, maybe you and I were the only ones mailing Hudspeth County. Right? But
the glory days.
The glory days. And it's like whoever answers the phone gets the deal. And but now they ask more questions, they ask for more prices and stuff. So yeah, I've been finding more of them on the market, just like you're talking about, because it went from all off market. You got to get them off market and take them to the market and get a spread. But now there's so much stuff on the market, like the quantity of stuff that's listed on the market. It might not be exactly the splittable stuff you're looking for or I'm looking for, but the stuff that's there is pretty amazing, and you don't have to pay what the asking price is. I mean, you could still make stupid offers, or you can make more creative offers. Like the offers can talk about different kinds of owner finance or time. Give me some time to do some due diligence before I buy this thing. And that's like my time to raise the money, or my time to find a buyer, or my time to figure out if it's splittable, like sending the surveyor out there, sending, somebody out there to get pictures, somebody out there to figure stuff out, make sure I could like do my thing before I actually buy it. That time is huge. Just locking up that price, you might be able to turn around and sell it. And lots of the market that's happening now, you can, turn around and sell it and keep the spread without even putting the money up. And a lot of the ways that finance is structured in today's markets, or maybe I've been learning and it's always been that way, but I think a lot of the technologies have made it even more that way. So I was up a couple hours earlier this morning, making those calls to some of the different brokers, the ones that are listed, and trying to see who's answering, and calling the neighbors, calling the other stuff for sale in the area, asking them if they've looked at that one over there, see what their feedback is. And like, just, running due diligence on multiple ones that the statistics hit, and see if I could figure them out. And I love doing that. That's like exciting for me to go find that deal. And I think in today's markets, a lot of them are on the market, which I think also the transponder, the other side of that is people that are finding them off market and bringing them to market. Guys like you and I could be snatching them off of them and taking them and making them worth even more money. And they don't know what they've got on their hands too.
Why do you think more people are not looking on market? It seems to be a very much obsession with direct mail, but even more so nowadays, SMS texting and cold calling. But everyone overlooks on market. Why do you think that is? Yeah,
I was going to ask you if you're doing SMS and cold calling and other things too. Yeah, I haven't been either. I don't have the attention span to keep up with it. Right? We got enough people to talk to, but it's all the advice from all the different gurus out there. Just keep talking about off-market deals, off-market deals, off-market deals. You got to, the last 10, 15 years, it's about getting deals off market. If you go back 20 years, it's about on-market deals and owner financing, like Robert G. Allen, no money down for the 90s, or no money down for 2000s, right? I don't know if you ever went to his conferences and things or read his stuff. It's like before the movement of getting stuff on market. He's just talking about, there's a car in the garage and there's palm trees in the front yard and there's furniture inside, and you buy it with all that stuff and the appliances, and you go sell the appliances and the palm trees and the car in the garage for your down payment. Make them all happen at the same time and borrow money to the moon and go rent it out for rent yields, or flip it to somebody at a higher price because you negotiate a good price. I went to some of his conferences, and he would just, I loved it. I always wanted to do that going forward. I don't know the legal ramifications of totally doing it, but he just pick up the phone in the middle of the conference and put it on speaker in front of the microphone and start calling some of these homeowners from people that in the crowd that brought him up, and he started negotiating a deal. He's like, oh, so the stairs are like this and the windows are like that, and the the furniture and the TV, and he starts getting all the appliances and what model is it, how old is it, get it all over the phone. and he'd like be doing the calculations on a screen next to him that puts them up behind him, like value, value, value. And then, so what's the lowest you'd take for this house? If I paid cash, I close in 30 days. What's the, and he just negotiated over the phone. He'd get them down to some number. And he's like, this is what you could sell the house for in the area. And this is all the stuff you could sell to make the down payment. You could put money in your pocket buying this thing, and you could get like 4 or 5 months of payments on your mortgage out of selling the crap out of the house. You could negotiate into the purchase. And, just the ways he's doing it. Like that was all on market, and it changed. Like the marketing just changed to getting stuff off market. It just did. I think times change over time. It might be time to change back to grabbing stuff on market and getting more creative in how you structure them. Maybe that leads into my next question, is how you finance your deals. I think you said one, you did the Hudspeth, you borrowed money from family,
Yep.
but how do you, family doesn't have all the money, right? You want to keep going after bigger and bigger deals.
Yeah, I was not exactly blessed to come up with a super rich family. So that was kind of a one-time deal. One of two ways. I am a big seller financing proponent. So I will ask the seller to carry the note with 10 to 20% down. But that is hard to do. I mean, most sellers want cash. They're not very financially literate. It's like they would rather have a chunk of cash and put it in a bank account earning little to no interest, as opposed to, seller finance note at 7 to 10%. It just blows my mind every single time. So if I can't get that, I like to bring in private money. So I have a few people that I work with who will come in and they'll basically step into the seller's shoes, and I'll get, great loan to value, usually 80% plus, often 90% LTV. So we're closing one tomorrow, I think. The realtor was calling me at freaking 6:30 over here in Texas, and she was calling like 5 minutes ago. I saw my phone blowing up. So she's ready for closing. It's a $715,000 purchase. The private money guy is doing $650,000, and I'm doing that'd be $65,000. And so he's going to get a deed of trust, first lien on the property, great collateral, and I pay 18% on those. So I'll be paying him 18% on $650,000 over 10 years.
Okay, you get a good long runway to get the pieces off. And so when you start selling the pieces, you do like a lot or most or all of each piece you sell going back to pay that off, and then as you get to the end, you keep the profits, or you kind of, does the thing break up lot by lot and you just do parts on each one as you sell them off, or how does that work, if you're willing to share?
Sure. So we set it up very creatively up front. The deed of trust allows me to sell all or part of the land while I'm paying the lender in this case.
Okay.
And so what we'll do obviously is go get the survey done. This is going to be 22 lots. He's got $650,000 worth of debt. I like owner financing the lots on the sales side myself. So usually 80 to 90% of my sales will be owner finance. So probably 20 of these lots, I will carry the notes, and people will be paying me monthly. And the lender won't know anything. He'll just keep collecting his monthly check of whatever it is, $10,000 or $15,000. If and when I go to sell one of those 22 lots off in cash, then we'll simply do, okay, 22 lots. That's, each lot is, let's say, 5% of the land. So I sell it off for cash. We do a prorated fraction of the acreage that I sold off, do the division, and multiply it by the remaining principal balance, and write him a check and get a partial release upon the sale. So that's the only time he's getting cashed out. Or if I sell one of those notes, if I originate notes and I'm collecting money and I find an investor like Luke Smith who's like, oh, that's a nice piece of land and you got a good performing payer and everything, let me give you cash for that $1,500 a month today. I'll say, okay, Luke, come give me 90 G's and I'll give you $1,500 a month for 120 months. And then I'll go give the private lender his prorated 1/22 of his $650,000 note.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I'd try not to pay off the debt. Like especially if it's performing, like I'm in no hurry to pay off that debt with the lender. It's at 18%, but to me, it's a good debt. That interest is deductible. The land is worth 3 or 4x, and so I'm just cash
there's
flowing.
a lot of room for error, and it just goes. So if the person pays off early, then you're closing out and paying some down. If the person's paying cash, you're paying some down. So have you had trouble with title companies doing releases like this, or do they ask you for extra pieces of title, like an extra piece of insurance, like a lot of subdivisions, bigger subdivisions, they do different release escrows like this, like the funds go into the escrow and you sign stuff as the money goes through escrow back to the guy, or does it go to your accounts and then to the guy, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
so we just closed one today actually with the underlying lender and needing the partial release. So if it's going through the title company, there's a few things that can happen. There are title companies that will insure wraparound mortgages and
Yeah.
with the underlying lien in place, but a lot won't. And so in that case, they're going to say, we need this partial release for lot 1 out of 22 to get the land free and clear for the buyer. So in that case, as it was today in this closing I did, we had to go to the underlying lender, the debt guy, get a partial release for the lot that was at the title company. He sent the partial release directly to the title company. His payoff prorated amount was included in the closing statement at the title company. So it all came together at the title office, and they handled this distribution of funds to me, to the underlying lender, then of course gave the property to the buyer.
That's cool. I'm always
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
I'm always asking title companies questions, and I don't have that one in my question list for title companies.
Well, it's a very creative thing. A lot of title companies are not used to it, especially on the land side. And so this one drug on forever because title company they're not my favorite title company. I wouldn't use them again.
Yeah, some title companies work for some deals, some work for other deals, some work for some people, some work for others. I mean, I'm always shopping, but what I've seen a lot of is the title companies consolidating the last year or two since COVID, prices and activity have died off. Interest rates started going up. Like a lot of the title people that I'm used to calling that did transactions for me in the past, they're gone. I get the main switchboard and like they don't know who I'm talking about, gone. Like that whole department, that whole office is gone. You know, they're all consolidated into like a state base instead of a county base or a city base, or not even regional anymore. It's like state, and a lot of them are regional within that part of the state. Now they're regional with a couple states, and they're offering more services. So as they're consolidating and we're needing less of these title people, technology's progressing, doing a lot of it for them. You know, less people doing more work. They're offering more stuff, like the kinds of services you're talking about. And I just wondered if they're charging accordingly. And like, because some of the things I ask for that I would get from other people mixing into title, now title's offering them from like in-house, you know, like I don't know how to give good examples, but they're just, I think the list of services that they offer has gone up and up as the industry is condensed. So it's fun to ask your title what else they're doing these days to stay in business and see what they offer you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess to more specifically answer your question, they didn't charge me or do anything extra. There's nothing really special on those deals. I guess to your point, you could ask them if they would have some sort of insurance product or closing on a wrap transaction. You know, perhaps more title companies would be open to offering that instead of requiring that partial release.
Yeah, and the paperwork, like you do the paperwork too. You got forms for that? You fill it out for me? Hell yeah, man.
Yep. I like to do my own paperwork. Like that realtor just called me. She's like, you do have a deed of trust and promissory note ready for this transaction, and can you send it ASAP? Like I would rather prepare that because I have all those documents. It takes me 5 minutes as opposed to them charging their attorney fees like stupid, like $300 per document. You know, that attorney is just pulling his template and taking 5 minutes, you know, doing the same thing, typing it in and making a fortune.
Yeah. But so I got a good example as you're talking. So more of them are willing to do, I'm going to come up with, I'm not going to say the right word, signing authority. So signing authority, I'm traveling. I'm in Bali right now. The time zone's wonk, and like trying to close deals on wonky time zone. And there's good luck finding a local notary to sign stuff. I was just in Europe, traveling around Europe, and I mean, a lot of the waiting lines to get notaries at the consulate and embassies, it's like 3 months or 6 months to get to notary. And this stupid place doesn't take, you know, some of these places don't take electronic notary and others do. Like Alabama, for example, good luck using electronic notary.
Yeah.
Do some deals in Alabama, and some of the closing agents are doing. They'll be the signing authority, so they can like docu-sign paperwork that says you have the signing authority to, sign the deed, notarize, this deed, this transaction, everything on my behalf. So it goes from requiring a local notary to allowing me to be on the other side of the world in a different time zone, not being on call at that last second that they need stuff signed, and allowing them to do it. Those kinds of services that they haven't been willing to do in the past. Like in the past, I would have to get a partner or somebody on call in the US that's ready to take a local notary, or if it's Old Republic, Chicago title or something, and they want to send their specific notary out instead of the local one or one that I have. You got to be there at an address they can get to and on call at the time that they can be there. Not always available. In my house in California, I mean, sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 of those people trying to park in my driveway at the same time to do closings, and it's like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, why am I using Chicago title again? Like, come on, Fidelity again? Can't we use First American? I can like go to the local notary or sign on my own schedule. I mean, it's just, yeah. So like being able to take a lot of that bureaucracy out of the trade is happening a lot more in today's market than in the past, because they'll do little stuff like that as an example I can think of off the top of my head.
I think Chicago title has really cracked down on using their own authorized notaries, though, from my last couple deals with them. Like,
they want you to use their notary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They want to send their notary to you, to your house or your office or whatever, and sign it in person, and like pictures, all kinds of stuff, right? It's like, here, take my blood sample while you're at it.
Yep.
But if you got an authorized signer for your trust or your LLC or your entity that you're doing these in, that authorized signer can be the one doing, all that stuff.
True.
On behalf of your entity. And it can be your closing agent. Like the one at the title shop can be your authorized signer if the title shop is open to that, and they know all the paperwork and they're confirming it with you, like digital signature style, friendly, easy, modern. And then they're doing the old school in person with Chicago title or Fidelity or whichever one it is, agent to sign it. And they've got business hours. They can meet their notary in their place, their time, and and I'm not missing it. I'm not double booking it, and they'll just throw that in there. Like, is there a fee on that? No, of course, it's easier for us than to send someone out to you. It's like, great, win-win for everybody. For the ones that understand it. Like, so some of the title companies are getting better at that kind of stuff. So you talked about how you finance them. I think that's the creative sauce of what you're doing. That's the beauty. I mean, that's huge. That's the value add. That's where you're getting, spreads out of your deals. It's how you're financing them. I saw that you're making a video about that, and that's awesome. And that's what I wanted to get to. But then, so you finance them, how you sell them. You talked about selling them on terms, but what else are you doing? You hiring it out? You getting real estate agents, or you putting ads up all over the place, or how you selling these things?
I do not like using real estate agents at all. I am a huge anti-real estate agent, never had any success. There's, of course, good ones, but most of them are horrible when it comes to land. So I have 2 full-time employees and myself. It's basically 3 of us mainly that run the land business. I have a full-time sales guy now. I still run some sales myself, and then my ops manager still runs some sales himself. So we do it all in-house, mostly on Facebook. I'm excited because I've really started to build out my CRM recently for my land business. Like, we do Facebook lead forms, collect name, email, phone number, and just today we finally got it set up where we can text people. So I've always done email blasts and newsletters, but I'm gonna start trying a little bit of texting on the sales side, just shooting out text blasts. Hey, got 10 acres in West Texas coming. Here's the price. Contact if interested. Type thing. But mostly it's Facebook, and we do a little bit of land.com, but that's kind of, I think, fallen off. Everyone's kind of saying the same thing, unfortunately. And then we do a pay per list MLS service. We again don't use realtors or brokers, so we do a pay per listing to get it up on the MLS. Then we handle calls in-house and pay the buyer's agent a 3% commission for bringing the lead.
Nice. Facebook, primarily Facebook. That's pretty cool.
That's it.
I like that.
We spend 6 figures a year on Facebook ads.
Facebook ads, not Facebook Marketplace or combination of Facebook Marketplace and ads. That was going to be my next question. Is like, I get stuff kicked off of Facebook. Post too many things, I get kicked off and kicked off. I kind of gave up on them, but you're doing ads. I guess if you start paying for ads, and they want to keep you.
Maybe. Facebook is a beast, man. I mean, you can't really tell what's going on inside the Facebook box. A lot of people have the horror story of getting their marketplace banned or kicked off. We've never had a problem with it. We try not to post, too often. We try to do, only once or twice a week. There's a lot of different things you can do to kind of stay out of the gray area and the blacklisting, so to speak. And then we have the business page as well, the Jasland business page. If we were to get kicked off a marketplace, we would just start running ads on that business page.
Yeah. So you can't talk about like shooting guns and hunting and all the hot topics. Meat
I would not.
Processing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great place for a meat processing plant. Yeah.
You got to be careful with the words that you use and also the photos. I did one time where I posted like a picture of like a deer or hog or something that was, shot and killed for hunting on the land. So it was a good hunting area, and immediately got flagged and taken off for animal rights or whatever. So it's like, you got to really pay attention to literally every single word in your post. If you don't, you could be screwed. Yeah,
you got to be careful of that. No, that's cool. That's creative. I didn't expect you to say Facebook. I don't know what I expected. I thought you did a combination. You start handing it off to brokers and stuff. I've done all different kinds. So where do you see the market, like real estate market for land, like now, future, and where do you fit into this? Like past, now, future? And
yeah, man, that is a great question. I would love to get your thoughts on it too, because it's actually something that I've thought about a ton the last year because of my coaching program and everything. And it's definitely getting more competitive, especially on the flipping aspect of it. Simultaneously, everyone and their mother and brother and sister want to learn how to subdivide or split land, because everyone knows you can make more money that way. So now you also got a rush of people coming into kind of the subdividing space. So I often wrestle in my mind where, okay, I'm doing well. I mean, I'm going to continue to do well. I'm not worried about that. I've always done well, and I think the sky's the limit. But there are more competitors coming in. Is this going to turn into like a house wholesaling situation where it gets hyper competitive and you have to get really creative? Is there always going to be way more opportunity than kind of house wholesaling, so to speak? Is it kind of a race to the bottom? Is it, do we need to keep going bigger and more advanced and more complex because there's less competition? There's so many different factors, and it just, I struggle to wrap my mind around it, if I'm being honest, because it's just, I don't think there is an answer or a crystal ball, so to speak. But what I can say right now is it's good. I see so much opportunity. There's so many deals on market that I can't even fund. I mean, that's how we initially got connected. Is I want to talk to you about, creating a land fund and funding deals with private money. And I see so much opportunity out there, but is that opportunity going to go away? Is it going to get that much more competitive? I don't know.
So I've been buying land through mailers, send mailers buying land, and crazy land in the middle of friggin' nowhere land, and it sells. Land in town, it sells. Land on the side of town, it sells. Commercial land on the side of the street, it sells. Land, high traffic, retail potential land. I love that stuff. That's my favorite. It sells. You can find tenants for it. It sells. Stuff you can't even find tenants for. Other people buy it and they go try to find tenants. It sells. You buy it at the right price, it sells. I can count on like one hand the properties that haven't sold out of the thousands that I bought in the last 9 years or something. It all sells. It sells for more than you buy it for. When you buy it at the right price, it sells. And so I think a lot of people coming around to splitting land are coming to the same conclusion, that it's gotten harder to buy this stuff because other people are figuring out that they buy this rural vacant land or this stuff off on the side somewhere, it sells, they can make money at it. So they offer more and more and more and more. Like I was just talking to a guy yesterday, bought some land from me, and he bought 2 different properties from me. One, he was $100. You pay all the back taxes. $99. You know, I just clean out portfolio. I bought it for $50, like whatever.
Jeez.
And you know, back taxes are a couple $1,000. Like I told him what the taxes are. You pay the back taxes. I'll just do the paperwork and hand it over. And then, so I got his trust with that one. And then he bought another one from me for $14.99, like $1,500. And it was a house in I'm gonna forget that. Is it England, Arkansas? Excuse me. Excuse me, lose my voice. England, Arkansas. And it said on the tax records it's like 700 square feet or something. He researched it and it's like 2,400 square foot house. Like, I don't know. I never been there. I bought it for $50 with like 1,000 others like it. And so I sold it for $1,500. And so he bought the thing, and now he's calling me because he's trying to sell it, and people are making offers. You know, I sold it for $1,500. I bought it for $50. I thought I'm doing a great thing. And he's like, people started sending me offers for like a couple $1,000s, and then they send me offers for $5,000, and then $20,000, and then $50,000. And now I'm getting offers for like $85,000 for this thing that I bought from you for $1,500. And these are offers in the mail, right? And he said, these numbers are too good to pass up. So I started calling him, and I started saying, I'll take your numbers. And the guy, 85,000 or 87,000, whatever it was, you know, I bought the land for $50. The guy says, okay, I looked at it. We're going to do it. We're going to buy this thing. We're going to close. And they're going to close. And as part of the closing, they want to go out there and they want to re-key the house, put new keys on the house. And it's probably really just like doing a walkthrough. They're probably showing the house to somebody they're selling it to for 100 or something. And there's people living in the house. And, you know, it's classic. I get that a lot on those old supposedly abandoned houses I got from the state that nobody paid taxes on. And it's usually just hire an attorney or a local property management company to do an eviction, or you talk to the tenant, you sell it to the tenant, or you sell it to, you know, somebody that wants to deal with it. I usually just sell it to somebody who wants to deal with it. And so I told him, you know, here's an attorney that I've used. Here's, you know, local property manager people. You should call the local ones. And but my point is, those offers have gone up and up and up and up. And now we could just go buy big chunks of land, cut them up, and put that land on the market. We've got the nerve to do those splits because we've seen how much this stuff sells and how the market has changed in that and skewed off in that aspect. I can't buy those $50 ones anymore. Can't buy the $1,500 ones like that anymore. But we could buy a big chunk of land for $1 million and cut it up 15, 20 ways or something in a nice area and go sell it for $2.5 or $3 million. You know, the pieces. Like that was one I was working on the phone this morning. And trying to figure that one out, see if I can pull off the logistics on that. And the numbers, you know, the lots like what I want to create out of it, the ones on market are selling in like 2 weeks, 2 weeks on market. Like I like those timelines. Jeez. And doing volume and like, why not? I go split the hell out of that area and dump them on the market. People sending mailers. They're, you know, I've mailed this area. They don't get anything. No response, no friggin' response. And because everyone else has mailed it, because it's really competitive. And in today's market, it's just time to split it up, make more properties. Everyone always says, land, they're not creating any more of that. Well, you know, you could split them and make the same amount of land could be used multiple different ways in a way that's making more of them. It's making more numbers of properties, and more people can fit in there. And I was talking to the local brokers in the area. I'm like, are they moving in for the schools? Because I know it's got a really good school in that area. And it's got some nice lakes and beaches right around it. It's an area I spent time in as a kid. And I know the area pretty well. He said about 40% of them are moving in for the schools, and about 60% of them are moving in for a summer vacation home. They're moving in from like a state or two away, and they're set up a home here for the summer. And like, okay, that's healthy. It's mixed. It's not just one thing, you know. It's good to have a cacophony of different buyers to sell to. And I'm asking about the seasonality, and he's like, I just sold one yesterday. I sold one, you know, this is way north, and we're in November, and people are buying this stuff right before the harsh winter. In the past, like I had properties in these regions, nobody shows up to look at them until spring. But the market changed. People are buying them in this kind of market, in this kind of weather, and with this, it's prime season. I think this market is primed in certain areas to split stuff up and sell the pieces, where it hasn't been in the past. In the past, you just buy it for cheaper on the market and put it up, add pictures, take the spread. I think those spreads have shrunk to gone away. You can't do them in volume like you used to be able to, but you can do splits in volume. I think that's why you're finding people that are interested in splitting stuff. I think they're seeing the same thing in the markets. And then maybe later someday, enough of those will get split and flood the markets that it changes. Maybe instead of 2 weeks to sell one of the things, it's 2 months or 6 months or a year or two, because you just made too many of them. And I noticed that in splits I did in the past, when I made a whole bunch of them in the area, it would take a while to sell them. Whereas if I just made, a little bit in the area and sold them, and then made some more and sold them, it seemed to be more sustainable than just flooding the area. So I think you got to figure out different areas too, and like milk your different markets that you're working on these things in, and not just learn one area and just flood that one area, unless it's like got some major metropolitan, group that you can feed these lots into right next to it or behind it, right around there somewhere. It's just how I see it. But
yeah. And if there's one thing that's certain in business or life, I wouldn't call myself an expert. I've been multi-business owner now for 6 or 7 years, but adaptation and change, right? I mean, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to change. Things are going to happen, I think, in the future that we cannot predict in this business. And to your point, we're going to have to figure it out. I mean, maybe it's not doing splits anymore. Maybe it's doing something else, or, figuring out something else that we can do to make money in this niche.
Yeah. Like I got this property I'm working on right now. I bought it and I promoted it. I've sold it 4 or 5 times and the buyers keep backing out on me. I drew it up as like a great place for a Home Depot or a Costco to go, like a retail property, because the Lowe's right next door is freaking killing it. It's like 98 percentile Lowe's. It's like one of the best Lowe's in the network of Lowe's in the country. And I got a bunch of acreage next to it, and like it's got all the utilities, and this is where the big shops go, right? And it's missing a Home Depot. You could put a Home Depot next to your number top 10 Lowe's or something, maybe top 20 Lowe's, and you could have an awesome Home Depot. It's going to sell stuff, right? Or Costco's missing. The Costco's satellite around, but the traffic draw of Costco, it's just like a void in between the other Costco's. Like, this is where Costco goes. It's got the access to traffic and everything. So guys bought it to do that in the past, and then they didn't land their Home Depot and their Costco, and they didn't close on the property with me. And so I got a buyer now that wants to do, their previous buyer wanted to do apartments, right? So he got the city to say okay to 120 apartments on this property. I'm like, that's pretty great. And then he didn't close. And then I got another buyer that wants to do condos. And so I like the way this guy does his thing. He got a contract to buy it. He asked for some time, said, okay, I'll give you some time to buy it, because it's taken a while to sell this thing. And got a good price on the sale, not spectacular, not like, dancing forever, but still a lot more than we bought it for. And he wanted to get past the city, and I sold land to the city in the past, and I know the people at the city. I've worked with them pretty well. And he wanted to talk to the city about getting approved for condos. And so he hired the engineering firm that does like all the work for Walmart. Like, every time you want to build a new Walmart or add on to a Walmart, this engineering firm does it. It's like, great. That's a good credit rating, right?
The big guns.
I hired the big guns, probably paid more for them than you would a regular engineering firm, but he got the big guys, and he got them to draw a condominium, like townhomes kind of neighborhood. And he got it figured out for 159 homes instead of the 202 apartments that the previous guy was figuring out. So 159, and he got it past the city council, and they're doing a vote. And so he's running a vote, and the vote happens Monday, like the Monday right before Thanksgiving, a couple days from now, Monday. And we'll see how the results go. Maybe somebody shows up and raises a big stink. Maybe nobody cares, and we get the approvals to do the townhomes. And then the guy closes if that goes through. But how much did he spend? So he hasn't really put up any hard money on the deal yet, but he's been paying for surveying and engineering. He hired good surveyors and engineers, did soil tests, stuff like that, and figured out the layout of where the driveways would go, where the buildings would go. He's not building them, he's drawing them. And he's probably, I mean, the value of the property that he's got under contract with me, I mean, he probably is getting $2 to $3 million spread higher in value by going from land to land with the entitlements to build, 159 townhomes. And then he'll probably just sell it to somebody else. Like, here, build your townhome, shovel ready to go, all signed off by the city. The value goes up a pile. Like, watching him, learning from him, seeing it on the other side, I think makes me a lot more courageous to be the one offering that out into the future, or doing that to other land that I'm into. Like, you could just take the vacant land and drop a bunch of stuff, drop the buildings, get the permission for them. It's the fees are a couple $1,000, and he's paying $3,000 and $5,000 and stuff like that to the city to have these meetings to see if it works. He's losing money if it doesn't work, and he walks away with the engineering and the surveying and soil testing and the city fees. But it's not that much money compared to the upside shot of it getting accepted and pulled off. And if you did that on a half dozen properties, the net payout would be, if one of them goes, is like, it's just mind-boggling and scalable, like you're talking about before. So I'm seeing it from the other side. I'm watching. I'm in the bleachers. I'm learning. I'm asking questions. Maybe I can work with this guy in the future, and do it on others. And he's done it on a whole. His list of other deals just goes on and on and on. I think it's cool, that side. There's different ways of doing it. So I watched you said Summer Healy before. I watched a video of Summer Healy put together, and we've been talking about technology. It looks like he's getting some pretty awesome technology to slice and dice and figure out vacant land, rural vacant land kind of stuff. You just went to his conference in Las Vegas, and I saw the public version. I saw you, maybe as your girlfriend or wife or something, sitting next to you, or someone else, I don't know. But you could kind of like see it from the back of your heads. I'm pretty sure it was you. So you're there, and you just said you spoke there. I didn't realize you're actually speaking there. That's even better. What did you think of the conference? Did you get good networking and good vibes, good indications of what's happening in the marketplace and what other people are doing? Or, well, what are your takeaways on that one?
Oh yeah, Sumner's a great guy. Love him. Has a good conference. It's more of a younger crowd, a lot more flippers than developers. But all those land conferences are great, especially if you want to be in this business full time. You got to really get out to maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 of those per year. Everybody's having them now. This niche is kind of growing. Space is growing. Everyone's hosting these events and conferences. The networking is always fantastic, especially for beginners. Go there, find yourself a funder, start networking, find people with the money who are doing deals. That's my advice, is if you're serious about this, you got to get out to those events. You got to start meeting people. And that they're invaluable for that sense. All the conferences, you can take away probably a few golden nuggets. I leave inspired every time. Do I meet cool people? Absolutely. It's always a great time. I think it kind of opens your eyes. The biggest takeaway I have every time I go to one is literally everyone is doing something different in the land space, and I'm always blown away. There's people flipping, there's people mailing, there's people finding deals on market, there's subdividing, there's people texting me, not texting. Like, there's just so many. There's people like you doing it from overseas, there's people like me doing it in Texas and boots on ground. It's like, I cannot believe the amount of different ways there is to make money in real estate in this business. And it's just, you got 100 people, and there's maybe 99% of them are doing things differently than one another. It's insane. I don't even know how it's possible. It's a good thing though, I think, because it just goes to show how much opportunity there is in the space.
Do you think a lot of them are doing volume, or they're doing quality, or there's a good mix of volume actors and quality actors, or a lot of them?
A lot more volume from what I can tell.
A lot more volume guys.
Yeah, a lot more volume guys from what I can tell. Most of the space is still kind of flipping, and like we talked about, send out a lot of direct mail and SMS and cold calling, very little finding deals on market, a lot of volume. But it is slowly shifting. Like I said, I think everyone is interested in developing and subdividing and all that stuff, but still mostly a volume game from what I could tell.
Yeah. I think the volume game is a great place to learn and get your feet wet.
Oh, for sure.
Get good confidence in being able to sell stuff later on. And yeah, I think it's a great place for them to go. And I think there's plenty of room in real estate to get into developments, all different kinds of developments in different parts of the country, different styles, different ways of developing things and making them happen. And
look, if you haven't done a land deal, it's going to be very hard to just come in and like rip a subdivision and make a few $100,000. Like it's possible, but you got to get your feet wet. You know, people see some of us out there doing it and they're like, oh, I could make, you know, $1 million on subdividing land. It's like, well, you certainly could, but like, how are you going to find the deal? How are you going to fund the deal? Like you've never even had a piece of land surveyed, let alone, you know, you never closed a piece of land, let alone had it surveyed, talked to county officials, etc. So to your point, I think everyone should start small and be in more of the volume flipping side, and then you naturally grow from there. And your pace of growth is completely up to you. How much you want to learn, how much action you want to take, how much effort you want to apply.
You understand your paperwork and contracts and what you're asking for and why. And yeah, just like you said, actually closing, the different nuances of closing. And yeah, like legal description. If you're starting new, like how would you have any idea what we're just talking about? Legal descriptions, maybe hope I didn't run over people's heads with the legal description talk in the early part of this video, but I've got other videos talking about legal descriptions. If you go back years in my YouTube channel, lots of different what legal descriptions are and things. Maybe I'll link to some of those basics on legal descriptions in the description of this one, if I remember. So I wanted to ask, you know, how can people get in contact with you? How can they look you up? And you mentioned coaching. So you're doing coaching, you're doing paid coaching, are you promoting the coaching, are you taking people on? What's that about? Tell us about your coaching and how people are getting in touch with you.
Thanks for letting me plug, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's just JonJasniak.com, Jon Jasniak all over social media. I'm biggest on Instagram, second biggest on YouTube. I try to put out as much free stuff as possible. You know, the real operators and real people doing it you could learn completely free without having to pay them. I mean, it's going to take more effort and more time and all that stuff, but a lot of us put it all out there. You know, it's up to you to parse it out. And if you want to pay for training and coaching, I have it. I don't advertise it as much nowadays, but it's more of an intense, personalized approach where right now there's about 15 people in my private mentorship group where, you know, it's directly with me on WhatsApp. I answer calls, negotiate with sellers with you, like the whole 9 yards. It's basically subdivision focus. So I will teach you how to subdivide land, and there's a lot that goes into it. And we, you know, so we don't just open it up and have a mass flood of people. It's kind of a smaller group. It's a lot of time and it's stress, man. Like, I don't know about you, like I still get nervous when I like close a deal. I'm like, is this actually going to sell? Like, am I actually going to subdivide this land and make $1 million, or is it just going to sit on the market forever? So like, I still get nervous. And so like, now imagine you got 12 or 15 people that you're coaching and trying to teach them how to do that. And now you have like 12 different deals that you're nervous about. And like, these people are trusting me for their time, money, energy. Like, are they actually going to make money on this deal? And, you know, thankfully it always works out. At least it has, knocked on wood, but it's just, you know, it's time and stress and energy, man. You know this. It's like, you know, it's business. It's not a walk in the park. So how'd you do your first find and work with your first investors? Because I think that's the biggest piece of anguish for a lot of these guys. A lot of the different land dealers or early stage ones is how do I structure it? How do I, you know, there's just a lot of hows there and getting over that hurdle. How did you make that jump? So you're talking about funding deals and like using other people's money.
Yeah, I think you talked about family money. So maybe that was the first one, but like outside money, like somebody heard about your deal and gave you a call and said, hey, I'd love to invest in your stuff. Or did you find them at one of your networking groups? Or, and then
my first private money guy, he found me on Facebook, and he buys notes, and he said, hey, I see you're originating notes. Like, I want to buy some from you. And we sat down in West Texas and had lunch together, and he started funding some of my deals. And so my advice to beginners, because that is a huge pain point. It's either finding the deal or funding it. It's like the two huge pain points for beginners.
Yeah.
You're funding deals as a beginner, try not to take on debt, because it's a big responsibility using other people's money. Give up equity and give up more than you think you should to entice investors, and split profits or give them more of the profits on your first deal or two or three. Give up equity, not debt. And so that's my advice to beginners. And you have to start building the credibility. You have to start, for me, it's getting myself out there on social media, posting about my deals, posting about my business. Like, you really should have some sort of online presence nowadays, because people want to invest in the investor. Like, okay, it's a good land deal, but is the operator actually going to be able to pull it off? Like, have you done a subdivision before? Do you know what you're doing? And so you have to start building that credibility ASAP. And when you don't have it in the beginning, you need to give up more. You need to give up more equity to investors. You need to make the deal sweeter for them in order to entice them to come in with you. And so how do you actually find the investors? As a beginner, there's a few great options. The land events or local real estate meetups, great option. If you're in a big city, you just go to Facebook groups, local real estate meetups, join all the private money groups in Facebook. Just go to Facebook search bar, type in private money investing, private money lending, go to groups, join them all. There's a few good websites out there, at least there used to be, like Fund My Land. I think that got taken down though. There was fundmyland.com. There's great free discords, like Sumner has a free discord. I know the Apke brothers have a free discord, land investing online. Like, there's a lot of these land investing groups that have free Facebook groups or free discords. People and funders are in there. And then, I mean, really, it's getting your name out there and being consistent. Go to the land meetup, start shaking hands. Most of these funders are people that you're going to meet in person, because especially when you get to this level, doing multi-six-figure deals, like, you know, sure, you can do it all sight unseen online, but, you know, you have to build relationship with people. Did you sit down and have lunch with them? You know, do you know about their family? Do you know, what sort of relationship and friendship and value are you providing? And, you know, I've gotten to know a lot of my private money guys. Like, my first investor, Mike, like, he's a good friend of mine. And, you know, a couple times a year, we'll go out to a nice dinner, and he usually buys it, and we talk life and business and all that stuff. And sends me a Christmas basket every year now. And, you know, you got to build that relationship with people.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I got multiple different funders I call on, but one of them takes me fishing.
There we go.
So he tries to do it a couple times a year. Fly into South Florida and go down in the Everglades, and
dang,
get all kinds of redfish and speckled trout, and, you know, just on and on, all kinds of different kinds of fish. He loves fishing. I love fishing. We just talk about fishing and deals. What's this deal and that deal? And yeah, no, there's a lot of great guys out there.
I don't get much better than that. Fishing and land. Dang.
Right? Fishing and land. Exactly. Okay. So I think I've taken a bunch of your time here, and it seems like my internet's starting to slow down. Like, my kids are waking up and blowing it all out.
So, getting on the Wi-Fi.
Right. It's time to go make breakfast for kids and things. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for answering questions. Thanks for telling us about you. And I've learned, I might go sign up to some of these groups you're talking about. Like, I've watched the Apke brothers and their work. I remember those guys posting deals for funding on Land Tank back in the day. I don't know if you ever used Land Tank, but that website kind of died down. It was going good for a while. I funded a bunch of deals on there. And Sumner Healy's been making a lot of good content. And yeah, just the industry's been growing, more and more information out there. So, and then it's neat to hear about your coaching too. I'd like to hear more about that. Maybe I'm your next member. I'm always learning.
Yeah, let's go.
If you'd have me. So yeah, thank you. Thanks. I'll put your contact information in the description for others, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Thank you.